Good morning. My name is Andrea Smith. I'm the Assistant Superintendent with North Point Educational Service Center. We are happy to be partnering with the Ohio Department of Education and the Genoa Area Local School District team to be offering this session today. I have started our recording for this session, and so I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Annika Moore from the Ohio Department of Education.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Annika Moore, and I'm one of 5 on our math team. And I would like to, first of all, thank every single one of you for all the work that you are doing and everything that you have had to learn to do with your kiddos since March. So it was a turnaround in 24 hours, and this Teacher Appreciation Day, there's just not words enough for it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Especially I want to thank the Genoa team for sharing with us today their skills and their knowledge, and I am so excited to learn from you because I don't have those skills and knowledge, right? At the end, for those of you who have been on our math meetups previously, you know that we give you an exit link where you can put in your email address and name and suggestions for future needs. So that you can also get a certificate for the time that we spend here together. And just for this meeting's purpose, we will ask you to turn off your mics and also to turn off your cameras to create better opportunities for the bandwidth to work. And then if we use the chat feature for questions, there will be people monitoring those questions throughout the meeting, and we'll get to them. So with that, thank you so much, Genoa team. Let's get started.
Good morning. My name is Karen Roby. I am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Genoa Area Local Schools. And I have the pleasure of working with some amazing educators who are going to share with you today. Our focus points at Genoa include student choice, flexibility, and a belief that sometimes, especially now, less is more. Choice board formats like you'll see today are working really well for us to plan remote learning for our students and families. Staying connected with our students and families is critical, and if we continue to provide learning in a manageable format, we believe that our student engagement will continue. It's really important to realize that some of our teachers were already using some of the formats you'll see today, but others were brand new to this. So we are all continuous learners, and I think we all know that it is likely in some capacity that even in the fall, formats like this and strategies like this are going to be beneficial, I think, for our students and families. We do have a variety of teachers and subjects and grade levels today, and you will definitely notice an integration of math as well as ELA. And we will start off with our elementary teachers and work our way up through high school, but you are welcome to use any of the templates that you'll see today, and they're really applicable to any teacher. So if there's a format or presentation style that you like, you could certainly use that for your students and subject area. The teachers also, all their names are listed, and those are linked to their email addresses if there's anyone in particular you would like to reach out to. And I do want to mention that Christine Danoff, our tech integration specialist, who is the ultimate rock star of resources and being helpful. She is not with us today, but her information is also provided, and I would highly recommend following her if you're a Twitter user. She was recognized as top 10 in the state of Ohio, so she's amazing. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get us started, and then we'll quickly move into the teachers. You'll see the link at the top today, and you'll be able to use that and share that if you like. Again, I'm Karen, and there's my contact information if you have any additional questions. And there is Christine Danoff's information. She is our tech integration specialist who wasn't able to be with us today. Today, you're really going to see a variety of formats, and it's the focus is about choice. Sometimes kids gravitate towards certain activities or talents, and being flexible is really the key here. We also realize that there are a variety of districts who have no tech, some tech, or high tech, and all of what you'll see today is really adaptable to any of those. Even if you don't have a lot of tech available, you could download some of the resources and things that you'll see today to use. Like I mentioned earlier, less is more. We really focus on quality over quantity. You're also going to see a lot of our teachers placing everything in one spot for students and parents, which is really helpful at a time like this when they're not used to this day-to-day. You're going to see games and videos and other types to increase engagement. We are a Google school. You'll see today the choice boards may come in the delivery of a doc or a slide or a drawing. And we're going to go ahead and let our teachers take over and show you what these look like. We'll start off with our third grade team, and you will notice throughout all of our documents are linked, which will provide you with a template. So you are more than welcome to use anything you see today. All right, third grade.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Garver. I am on the third grade team here at Genoa. I shared the link to the choice board slideshow in the chat room if you guys didn't get it. The bottom slideshow is going to be our blank copy. You guys can create that as a template if you choose. And then the top one is posted. Also, it has some live links and it looks more like what the kids get per week. So we created a weekly schedule. This was created in mind with parents and students to create that flexibility, but also have the structure that the students need. We got feedback that the parents really liked having everything at one time instead of getting everything daily. So we created this weekly schedule with that in mind, that some parents were working and they weren't available during that 8 to 3 p.m. time frame. So it's a one-stop shop for them to have everything there. Again, hopefully you see that it has flexibility, but it's also very structured with what we need. And my teammates are going to kind of go through each of the slides to show you what it looks like.
Hi, I am Katie Moore. I also teach third grade at Genoa Elementary. This slide that you're looking at now, after the first few weeks, we kind of just added a few things based off of parent feedback and just some things that we noticed about our students and what they were doing. So this first slide is just a quick snapshot of our week. We also include links for our teacher times and our Zoom times. Some are for questions, some are for learning. And those are directly linked right to our Google Classroom. Everything that we link in our slideshow, we link right to Google Classroom so that it's all in one place. Prior to this, we had Google Classrooms for each class, but because of the distance learning and keeping things easier for the parents and even the students, we just created one Google Classroom to put all of our materials in, and then we just create topics for the week. So like this week is May 4th through the 8th, and then everything for that week is linked underneath that topic, and then everything from the slideshow is linked there, including our videos, our things that they have to turn in. Everything is all located in one spot. So that first slide is just kind of a snapshot, just to kind of let parents know when things are due and just an easy thing for them to look at. This next slide is just our morning routine. We use Class Dojo for communication. So we do post things on Class Dojo for parents and students. And then some of us have things in Google Classroom that we want them to check, and our administrators do announcements in Class Dojo. So we just kind of remind them to check those daily. And then this next slide is something else that we added. The first slideshow we just did a subject per slide. We are self-contained, so we do teach all subjects. So we did a slide for math, a slide for reading. And then we noticed that parents were struggling with what to do when, and just time management, and the kids were needing a little bit more guidance, we felt like. So we added this slide to our slideshow so that we could give them just a rough idea of things that they could do daily. And I do think that this helped a lot of our students to just kind of monitor what their workload was and to know what they could do each day. And again, those links are posted or linked right to our Google Classroom where they can easily locate those assignments.
My name is Aubrey Getz, and I am also a team member of the Genoa third grade team. And so I'm going to dive into a little bit more as to what those specific assignments do look like. As Katie mentioned, we adapted and created the sample schedule. What we started out with was just breaking down our assignments by the week, but per subject. So you can see on this slide here, specific to math, is some adaptations that we made throughout the way as well, was just to make our expectations as clear as possible. And so we added, this was our one slide for math, and they were first to do this, second to do this. As previously mentioned, all of these links head off to our Google Classroom. So if they were to click on one of those, it would take them to this page. This allows us to collaborate with a multitude of different resources, including Screencastify. We have Go Math here at our district, and so we are still able to follow along in that pacing. We just use Screencastify to do a mini lesson, and then they're what we call OYO, they're on their own. We sometimes turn into a Google form, a Google slide. We utilize Edulastic a lot as well. But by utilizing Google Classroom and that slideshow, we try to keep things as accessible as possible, not only to students, but parents as well. So that's specifically looking at math. Regarding writing, ELA, we integrate a lot of those Google resources throughout. We have Google Slides again, and these slides obviously adapt each week to what our learning and content pertain to. We also are a STAR district, so we are able to have them still do their 20 minutes at home, reading daily and taking AR quizzes. But these slides then allow the students to be as flexible as possible. If they need to start over the weekend, they can jump in early. If parents are still working and they need to extend into the evening time, Katie did mention we had a morning routine, but some of our friends don't get started until 5 p.m. So that's just what we have them do to start. It allows us to incorporate a lot of different resources for science per se. We include some great things like Generation Genius and some follow-up, just quick formative assessments, whether it's like a quiz game or something along those lines. And then it also allows us to give extensions when needed and if possible through some just extra activities if they need it.
Here's what I found.
This also allows us to incorporate our essential choices. So today's Wednesday, my kiddos would be heading off to library. So this, you will see a little bit later, allows them to still have access to all of those things in one spot. Again, reiterating the ease and simplicity for not only students and parents, but this just allows them, if they don't like the sample schedule and they want to work independently per subject, this breaks it down for them in that manner.
Hello, everyone. My name is Serena Parlett. I am the last member of the third grade team here at Genoa. This check sheet that you see in front of us, we added that after the first couple weeks that we started doing these slides. We had a lot of parents that would ask us just for something simple that they could use to keep track of everything that's due. We also wanted to make sure that we put the point values in there just so that all of our kiddos know our expectations and how they are going to be graded. We also do study skills grade in the normal classroom, so we decided to add that as well on our slides. And you can see in the blue post-it there that we outline what they need to do to get the O, the S, the N, and the U. We also, like the other girl said, we do use Screencastify videos for our lessons, just like we would with a normal whole group lesson. And in those lessons, we have the kiddos following along in our Go Math books. So we were getting a lot of questions of, what do we do with these Go Math book pages now? Do we need to send you a picture of them? What should we do? So we just made sure to include a little post-it to tell them what they can just keep at home, just those resources that we don't necessarily need to see, but they still need to use to follow along with us as we do our lessons. Every day we post daily extras either in Google Classroom or Class Dojo. Most of us do a read aloud where the kiddos can follow along with us and then they can go ahead and take an AR quiz. We also have may-do resources, which we'll get to in just a second, and we do connections every day as well. Like I said before, here is our may-do resources. These we just put in there in case we have a couple kiddos who are really fast finishers and they just want extra things to do. I mean, they can't go out and do their sports, they can't really hang out with friends. So we included some different fun activities that are still educational for them to be able to do, but they're not required. Most of these links they are familiar with. We do use most of these in the classroom throughout the year. So we utilize Freckle, Read Theory. We already talked about Epic and AR. We also try to use Prodigy and Boom Cards, Brain Pop, Generation Genius. We also have a couple of extras that aren't necessarily educational, but the kids really like doing them. For example, we have typing.com in there. My kiddos were really interested in learning how to type fast like me, so we just included something in there that would help them figure out the keyboard, and we also felt that it would help when they take the state test in the future if they know and they're familiar with their keyboards. So we've gotten a lot of questions before in the past. So how exactly is this a choice board? We have the format where they can pick which subject they want to do, which activities they want to do in a day. However, if they want a schedule to follow, we have that slide provided for them as well. So that choice still is there, but there also is a structure to it if we need to. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to fourth grade, Susie Gaylor.
Good morning. I teach fourth grade at Genoa, and we are departmentalized here, so I handle all of the math in fourth grade. All four of us teachers have created a similar agenda for our students, so they know that routine, they know our expectations, and we do share this on Google Classroom. So I send out the agenda for the week. The first one I think I'll start with, and you can see they are very similar. I'm gonna look at this one. At the top, it has our YouTube channels. So each of us teachers have created our own YouTube channels where we have all of our links for our videos. So we use Screencastify to record ourselves teaching the lesson, and then the students can either use the link down below or they could go through the YouTube channel and always go back to a previous lesson if they want to. For fourth grade, what we've done is we've created a choice board as a must-do, may-do. Our must-dos are if they are wanting just the bare minimum, maybe their parents are working and they don't have time, we are just requiring them to do the must-dos. So I typically have the routine of creating a video with my lesson. This one was about comparing decimals. And I told them if they want to practice before the assignment, I have options down below. Those are my may-dos where they can practice the lesson before they're going to take their assignment. And then I have a graded Edulastic assignment each week. So some of the activities that I have for may-dos to practice Could be a Google Slides activity where they're going to go there and they complete the Google Slides and they send it to me and I will grade it and then return it back to them so they get that feedback on how they're doing. I have gotten most of these from Teacher Pay Teacher. You can create them yourself, but they are quite timely to create. So I've gotten most of them off of Teachers Pay Teachers. We have, as a district, a subscription to the Breakout site. It is a great site that has an activity for each math standard. So you can search whatever standard you are teaching, and there is a breakout created for that particular standard. That is a great activity for my higher kids or kids that want more of a challenge. They are a good challenge for most kids. And a lot of times I'll send through the week, I'll have kids messaging me and saying, can I have a hint for the second block? So that is a great strategy for those higher kids that just need a little bit more challenge. The next one was comparing decimal or comparing numbers value. This is just a game I found, and same in the next one, Fruit Shoot Game. Those are just games I found online that there are links to that the kids can practice. And then I always have the Prodigy link on there where I go into Prodigy and set the standard that I am working on. So if the kids want to play that, a lot of the kids love it. They are actually practicing the standard that I'm teaching. So this is my typical format. The first one was a problem of the week. I always have a new one there. I create that one on a Google form so they can go ahead and read the problem that is there, and they can submit their answer, and they'll get feedback right away and if they're right or wrong on that one. A different agenda, I'm just showing you some other options I have done. This is another Google Slides practice one. This is a Kahoot game I created. You can create a Kahoot game. We're used to playing it live in the classroom, but you can set it up now as a challenge and have it open for the entire week if you'd like. So they can go in and play that anytime through the week and play it multiple times. Sometimes I've gotten where the kids have listened to my video and they did the Edulastic first and they didn't do very well, and they're like, can I redo it? Before I tell them, yes, you can go ahead and redo it, I tell them you need to practice, watch my video again, or do the Google Slides. You're not going to just keep retaking the Edulastic. So these are great ideas or strategies that the kids have used to be able to go back and practice before they just take the graded assignment again. This is a site I have used as wiser.me. It is creating an interactive worksheet for the kids that there's multiple choice on here that they did. This one was comparing values or matching them. So 10 over 100, and they can match wherever it matches on the right side. So that was an interactive worksheet that the kids could practice with. At the beginning of this, when we were all at home, we were doing more review activities. So I took a practice multiplication game that I would typically have had the kids play in the classroom. I made it a JPEG and put it as a background in the Google Slides, and then just create these red and yellow chips, circles that the kids can play this digitally. They could play with somebody at home and move the chips, or they could even print it out at home and then play it with paper pencil. So the options there, whichever way they want to practice it. The graded assignment I have been using is Edulastic. If you have not used this site, I highly recommend it for your assessment. You can search it. There's a huge question bank there. You can search for whatever standard you are working on. So let's say this week we were doing area and perimeter. So I might select that standard. And then these are all questions that you could borrow or make for your own assessment. Another great tool I have found is you can search by skills, or I could just search by the word Ohio. And these are questions that Ohio's state tests. They have already previously been on an assessment or have been released to the public. So you know that you're getting a question that the kids could potentially see in the future on an air test or a similar format of that. So it's been a great strategy just to get my kids used to answering those questions. One other activity I've done is taking the task cards. A lot of times in the classroom, I'll use my task cards around the room and they're going to solve them. Instead of being able to do that, I took a picture of them. I used a snippet app and took a picture of my task card. And then I used the Google Forms and I inserted it as an image. So this would be a task card I would have had hanging around the room, but I did a snippet of it and insert it as an image. And now the kids can answer it as they would on a piece of paper, but they're answering it in Google Forms. So that's just another strategy of ways we can practice these skills at home. I think The bottom of our agenda just includes the other things that the students are able to do. ELA has a daily grammar warm-up. The ELA and social studies teachers are doing read alouds, and those are on their YouTube channels. And then we always have a Zoom meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock, so the students can get on and ask me any math questions, or say, hey, Mrs. Gaylor, I didn't get number 5. Can you go over it with me? So I'll help them work through some of the math problems that they're still struggling with. After this presentation, we've realized that maybe we could put all of our assignments together in one slide instead of each of us having our own agenda. But this has been working for us, and we really don't want to change the kids' routine now. So in the future, if we have to continue this, I'm sure we'll be looking at maybe a way to put everything, even our own subjects, in one slide, just so the kids don't have to go to multiple places. But the kids have gotten used to the routine, and they seem to be doing really well with it. I think that is all I have. And I think essentials might be next, but I'm not positive.
Yes, and we have some of our team that is not with us today. I'm going to go ahead and share and just go over those briefly. Kendra Porter is one of our intervention specialists, and you'll notice on her choice board, she really narrows in on individual students and their needs. She provides recordings of herself giving directions, and has just done a really nice job of working with the team, but also individualizing it for the students. So please feel free to reach out to her if you want to see more about what she does. Our elementary essentials team, they were another team that started off with individual choice boards, but once a couple weeks passed, they realized they wanted to streamline it, put it all on one place, and the participation from the students has really increased, just knowing the parents can go to one place. And they asked that the students complete one of their choice board activities for each area throughout the month. So they've been really happy with the way they have grown and adapted as they receive feedback. Denise Lucas is one of our middle school science teachers, and she also has provided some of her choice boards here today if you would like to check those out. And there's her contact information as well. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Laura Pearson, our middle school guidance counselor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Pearson. I'm the middle school counselor at Genoa Middle School. However, I've been the middle school and high school age group my entire career. I've been a counselor for 12 years, and this was definitely a new adventure for me, which I've enjoyed the growth process of this. So I'm going to show you my first one that I did, and that is, hang on just 1 second, should move my bar here. My first one that I did was really for the entire school, 6th through 8. And we put this on the district website to try and give them some tools and resources during this time. No better time to teach coping skills. It's a very clean, easy format. It's something that you guys can use as a template if you'd like. And I also did this as just apps, things that they could do just for fun. We integrated a lot of games, and I did both a Apple link and an Android link to show them that they could download this on anything. And we wanted them to stay connected with some people, their friends, family members if they're at work. So this is just the apps to download some of these games, whether it be on an Android device. All of our students have Chromebooks or an Apple device, which they may prefer to work on. And then there's some other ones here, such as Hangman, that you could download. To be able to get them to, just interact with some of their friends and have fun. Just as Serena said, some of them are educational and some of them aren't. And one that I push towards our students a little bit is just this Big Life podcast. We are a growth mindset school. We're using some of the growth mindset in this Big Life podcast to get them just to kind of de-escalate themselves when they're maybe feeling anxious, and use that as a recentering tool. So this just for fun kind of section is here. Then I went down, our school counselor domains are personal, social, academic, and career. These start kind of that personal, social realm. This is a lot of coping skills for them, and most of it is very tech savvy and viral. You know, I believe in coloring, I believe in going for walks, but I also know that our kids are very tech savvy and technology centered. So this is a thought diary that I put in there for them to be able to track their thoughts and track their moods and emotions. So if you have a kid that's struggling, you can point them to some of these apps to be able to say, okay, well then track yourself. Or if you want to refer them to your school counselor, there are some of these apps out there to help them go through this, because we're all struggling through this together. It's new, it's scary. And then if they have a couple bad days in a row, you know, they can say, okay, I need to talk to someone. Or if they've said, oh, things are horrible and they're doing just fine in the days before, they can see that. They can go back and look at that. I use this one personally. This is a meditation app, very user-friendly, simple. You can go through this, download this, relax yourself, get them recentered. Maybe you even introduce this before they start to do a math lesson, just to get them recentered. Just make sure that get their mind right and can be able to focus. And adults can use these as well. So there's many mental health apps right here that I've directed our students to kind of download and use. Then I moved to an academic realm. I know a lot of our students aren't using their school planner right now. And for organization purposes, there is an app that you can download on your Chromebook or on your Apple device and try and keep track of all of the things that are coming in from various teachers, because things are coming in quickly and sometimes they get overwhelmed. I can't imagine being a 12-year-old receiving the amount of emails that you would be receiving right now. So just trying to teach them some organizational skills through this. As well as, here is a math app that we can direct them to, is a calculator to help them if they don't have one at home with them. So they can use this photo math and use this to kind of direct them. Now, some of you might shun this because you want to see the work, I understand, but it's just giving them tools and resources that they can use. As we go down then, you know, personality and career, for that career section, we are fortunate enough to have U Science at Genoa, and I've directed our 7th and 8th graders to log in and do some of those aptitude tests. Ohio Means Jobs you can use without a login, and we can direct them there to use things if you want them to look up statistics on how much a certain occupation would make. You could find some of those statistics here, or how much a college would cost. So those are all things that you could use. Then I evolved then to another one. This is a doc. My second choice board is now a slide. So I have then taken it to mental health awareness and used this as my second choice board to post out to the entire school, and also to my life skills class, which I teach a life skills class to 6th graders once a week. They can use this then for once a week. They have an assignment they have to choose from. So they could choose from any, and guided meditations are there. You know, check yourself for during let's go back to that. Okay, so you can check yourself for mental health during this time. There's a survey there, a Zoom party, all these things that we want them to try and learn these coping skills to be able to complete the work we're asking them to complete. And then this is also just another template and slide that you could use for your choice board, and it's more of a simpler one than some of the others that I have been using. So thank you very much for your time, and hope you guys have found that helpful.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Fox. I'm an English teacher at the high school level. I'm going to share. Oh, I can't share yet.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it off. My thing moved.
Okay.
I'm working on it, Amanda. Stop sharing. There, got it.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so like I said, my name is Amanda Fox. I teach English at the high school level. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I have my username here, and I always follow back. I love hearing from other educators. Now, what I'm going to go over with you is the first choice board that I created. And it was done in a Google drawing. And prior to this, I had never really used choice boards for content or teaching content like that. It was more for an assessment purpose, for projects, things like that, but never like really focused in on teaching something. So this was a real change for me. And you'll see as you look at this first choice board, it's more of an exploration of sources and different things to try, more so than teaching any one specific thing. What you do notice here is that I have in the center all of the important information that they need to be able to turn this in. So they know they need to do 3 activities by this date, and then I put what the Google Classroom assignment title is, and that will correspond then in the Google Classroom to that same assignment. In terms of what I have here for formatting, I always included a tutorial, video tutorial when possible, for any of the apps or extensions or websites that I thought they were going to have to use, because I can't just assume that they're going to know how to use it. And so you'll see I've linked tutorials for Adobe Spark, for Screencastify. If I can't find the tutorial on YouTube already, I'll just create my own using Screencastify. After this particular choice board, I then evolved into a slideshow after hearing some feedback from some of my students. They were overwhelmed with choices presented in the first choice board, so I cut them in half for this one, and this is what I've continued to do for the last several weeks. And they seem to like this a lot better. It's more structured and doesn't require them to be navigating to a bunch of different places. You'll notice on the first screen here that I have links that will take them to other parts of the slideshow. So all the essential information is right here in the very first slide. The due dates, how many choices, what the assignment is called, and then the links that'll take them to whatever they need. Now this choice board and the ones I've done after this one have all been focused on trying to teach a specific content. So for this one, I have required reading. And if you look at it, this is where the only thing on this slide is what they have to read. And then they have to pick 2 of 3 choices. So they have vocab, science of love, and a better way to talk about love. And everything has to do with the articles that I linked for required readings. So if I just look at, we'll look at this one, you'll see that each of the choices are threefold: and explain it, a watch it, a rate it, for this one in particular. And so what I've done is they have to, let's see if I can open that. They have to complete all 3 of those things, but only 2 of them actually have something that they're going to turn into me, because one of those was a video. So instead of having them turn in multiple documents just for one choice, I made sure to always put each choice's submissions, whatever they're going to have to turn in, on one document. So in this case, they have the comic strip, which was the first choice here, or sorry, the first part of this, explain it. And then they have the rate it. My internet is laggy, I apologize. There we go. Right here is the third thing that they have to do. So this is on the document and this is on the document. This is just a video to watch. So I just try to keep everything in one place for them. Now the other thing you can access on the slideshow is the need help area. My email's there, and then a Google Meet time to set. So I've included a schedule that changes each week. There's a calendar formula here that'll automatically update all this. And the students just fill in their name to whatever time or date they want to meet. And you'll see that, like on Thursdays, I've put this one in. I meet with my Honors English 1 students every Thursday from 1 to 2. But all of these other times are open for students to sign up for. And then I just keep this open on my desk. Now, going back to what it looks like in the Google Classroom, I'll post the assignment here with the slideshow attached, and then they submit everything to this assignment. And when they're submitting, they'll tell me in a private comment what choices they picked so that I know what to look for, because not everything that they complete for me for a choice is going to have a digital document or something to upload. Sometimes in the case of like vocab, it'll be on vocab.com and that already has their score loaded there. So I am not confused when I'm looking at submissions for students of what should be there or where I need to look. That's, I've found to be very helpful. And then in Progress Book, what I've done, since like for some of my choice boards, they have to pick 2 assignments or 2 choices. In Progress Book or online gradebook, in the private comment there, I will individualize what score they got on each of the choices, and then what actually goes in the gradebook is the full score. And then also some of the things that I've seen to really help students, I will put an example of student work for that current week's assignment. I usually pull this from a student who finishes before the deadline. So if I give them their assignment or their choice board on Monday, a lot of times I'll have some students who will submit things by Tuesday or Wednesday. And if they're of good quality and I feel like students can really learn from them, I will get their permission and then I'll submit it in the stream on the Google Classroom, and students can take a look at, well, what is something of quality that I would be looking for? The other thing that I put on here sometimes, I'll put additional resources in the stream instead of on the choice board, because I don't want them to be so confused about, well, if this resource is on the choice board, do I have to complete it? No, you don't. It's for students who need extra explanation or help or other examples. So this is an example of one of the choices they had to do was write an opening statement. And I realized that maybe students don't watch as much like Law and Order as I do, so they don't know what an opening statement is. Yes, on the choice board, I did explain to them what what an opening statement was, but I think there's nothing really as good as seeing it in action. So I linked a real life example of an opening statement in a trial. And then students can class comment on it with questions for clarification, and they can respond to each other so that I'm not answering the same question 20 times in a week. They can just go and look in the classroom and see what I've answered or what their classmates have answered. So that's been really good too. The big focus that I've tried to make for the choice board in the last few weeks has been a focus on feedback. So like I said, I give it to them on Monday. It's not due till Friday. A lot of times those students will turn things in early. Well, I don't grade them right then. I provide feedback and look at it to see, are you missing anything? Should you consider other aspects of the assignment? Are there questions that are left unanswered? And I'm able to provide that feedback. They can go in and make those corrections, and then they submit by Friday. And I usually tell students like that feedback deadline is really Thursday, because I can't be doing feedback right up until the due date. It's just not feasible. And students have really liked that because it's not a set in stone, well, when I hit submit, that's my grade. Now this is kind of taking the place of me walking around the classroom and answering questions that way. And that's pretty much all that I have. I'm gonna shoot it off to, I believe it's Spanish with Holly Shapira. Or no, it's Shannon Neary.
Yep, it's me. I'm gonna take over, Amanda. So all right. Give everybody a second here to get on and see what it is that I've got going on. So good morning, everybody. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. As a mom of 3, I'm seeing a lot of people actually doing work at my house, and I appreciate all that you do. I hope that I can give you guys a unique perspective here in that not only am I a high school science teacher, my husband is a high school math teacher. And therefore, although he doesn't work for Genoa, I have seen a lot of the things that he's trying to do with his students, and I hope that I can kind of weave them in to some of the things that I am showing you here on mine. The first choice board that I created in March was based off a template that Christine had given us, and I chose it because of the simplicity of its directions. This was based on the game Tic-Tac-Toe, and almost everybody knows how to play that, so I figured that the kids wouldn't have too many questions in regards to how to complete the 3 assignments that I wanted them to do. Basically, I had mandatory here in the center white square, the performance assessment that they had to do, but I figured that they could choose whether they wanted to go diagonally or down or across. And although I started by simply picking some assignments and typing the title of the assignment and short, sweet directions underneath, I quickly came to learn that there are going to be a ton of questions that the kids have for you the first time that you do this. If you are low tech or no tech, then those questions you're going to need to provide to the kiddos just on a one-to-one basis. If you do have some technology available to them, those questions can sometimes be answered by providing the kids with templates of what you're looking for. So in this first choice board, you can see that some of the choices are just in plain black. That's how we started this process. So maybe you would just give, you know, the section review on page, whatever numbers, this through that. But eventually, I did start putting in some templates so that they could open it, make a copy of it, and show their work to me electronically. I also found that this idea of tic-tac-toe in my mind seemed great, but the kids really did want to make some choices. And I think that's the whole purpose of doing a choice board. The kids are gonna buy in more if you don't tell them exactly what to do, but give them choices of how they can demonstrate their learning to you. So although I figured that if you did the section review and the performance assessment, you'd also complete this diagonal number 9, the YouTube playlist, I had a few kids sort of email me and say, hey, Mrs. Neary, I really want to do this number 6, this concept map, and I know that it's not a tic-tac-toe, but would that be cool? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what, these assignments sort of fall into categories for me. I changed the 1 through 4 to purple assignments, which were basically your demonstration of learning or knowledge. The green ones were more activities just to apply the knowledge. And then the performance assessment was definitely a mandatory one. They had to do that for me. And if you're flexible with the feedback that you're getting, you're going to get a lot more buy-in from the kiddos. So as we kind of moved from our first choice board, which was a 2-week one, so there were 3 assignments to do, I merged into this type of choice board. This is where direct learning could start to take place. And one of the things that I heard from the kids a lot at the beginning of this process is that they really missed hearing from us. They like to see me actually, my crazy hand gestures, going through the lesson myself. It was a struggle to learn how to do that effectively. I found that Screencastify was awesome, but I also know from my husband's point of view that Screencastify can be a little bit tricky because you can't do a hands-on problem all that simply. You can perform this on a Zoom and open up a whiteboard and do a math problem that way. And he has found that that has been really helpful in shooting his videos. So on this particular choice board, I have a video lesson that I gave to my kiddos. The choices that they all really liked to do and that I thought were great evidence pieces of learning, I've kept. Once again, kept those templates because to me it streamlines all of the common questions. Tried to branch out a little bit and come up with other activities that maybe they had not seen before. And one thing that you could take away from what some of the other teachers have said is this one-stop shop idea of having the directions, where we're going to have our Google Meet sessions, other helpful PDFs in one place for students and parents to look at, I think has been very much helpful. I also provided, if you're looking at the ODE slideshow, a few other examples of choice boards for other classes. These are going to be found on the Google Slides down in the comment section if you're looking at that. Not only do I teach junior and senior earth science, I also teach freshman physical science. So threw in a couple examples there so that you guys had some ideas of how you could see a different range of ability levels. 3 things I guess I could take away from this. Yesterday I said they were 3 F words that made a lot of people laugh, but I really do think that the 3 things that we need to kind of think about while doing this virtual learning or online learning is that, number 1, use the feedback that you're getting. If something is working, you're going to know that it's working, and you should continue to do that. If you're getting a lot of questions or a lot of confusion, that might be an indication that the activity that you have planned just isn't built for digital or remote learning. We might need to sort of reinvent that a little bit. The second thing is to be flexible. I'm very OCD, and I love to have things due day by day by day. However, I have learned that with especially the older kids, they have more at-home responsibilities and work that they need to do. So simply, posting it on the weekend and letting them fly and hoping that everything will be fine unless you hear from them seems to be working well for the older kids. And last but not least is to focus in on what they need to know and providing good pieces of evidence of their learning. All the other fluff stuff that we may love to do is great when you can see them every day, but it's going to be really, really difficult for them to try to do at home. So kind of weed that stuff out and really focus in on those main ideas. Other things from math that I sort of thought about while I was thinking about presenting to you guys is that my husband's kiddos have provided a lot of their evidence not electronically. They're still doing it paper pencil, taking photos of that and submitting their photos. There are lots of apps that allow you then to open up that PDF and mark that up where maybe they put an exponent in the wrong place or they didn't distribute properly, and then you can send that back and they can redo that a little bit. And another thing that one of our math teachers at Genoa is doing is, old school whiteboards still work. You could still prop your laptop up and shoot your video with you in front of a whiteboard, teaching that way. It doesn't have to be all these bells and whistles. You could still get across your point and make sure that the kids are learning even with the old-fashioned stuff. As old people have done this for a while, we know it works. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Holly Kimpon. She also teaches high school science.
Hello, everybody. Well, since I have the pleasure of going second to last here, almost everybody has said just about everything I wanted to say. So I will try to be brief with this and just hammer home some points that I wanted to. So I will start with the choice boards that I started with. Much like a lot of my coworkers, we all kind of just dove into it right away and didn't quite know what we were doing or what would work and what wouldn't work. So I still think my original works, and this might be something I would do in the fall if we have to do some kind of hybrid distance learning, but this is what I did basically. Anytime you do a Google drawing, by the way, you usually have to increase it. So the top part is mostly a lot of content learning, things that I think that they should be able to do basically on their own. It's the way that I measure their learning. So I always start off with notes. One thing I found is that every kid still wants to see us. Okay, a lot of kids still want to see us. They want to hear your voice. They want to hear you explain the things that are important, and not just really rely on their reading skills, because a lot of kids are lacking in that, and they want to hear you talk about it and give examples and make jokes and those kind of things. So there's always a video of me. I use Screencastify mostly. I've been playing around with Loom a little bit, and that works as well. I know some teachers are using Flipgrid for this. Either way, I think it's really important that you put your face and voice out there every week for them. And then I go over the notes, and I usually have what I call a note check, which is just a little Google Forms, very straightforward questions, level 1, type questions. Did they understand the basics of what I was talking about? I usually end up doing a video as well through Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is a fantastic resource if you haven't been using that at all. They are YouTube clips and videos and things. You can even upload your own, and you can embed questions right in them. So, a lot of times kids like to hear somebody else explain, or, there's really great animations in science. We use like Amoeba Sisters or crash course videos and things. So that is something to use as well. Then I had a pick one. So this is more of the hands-on type of learning activities that we would be doing in class. We do a lot of virtual labs. But there are other things too, like I had them go outside on a Flipgrid and find, you know, certain examples in nature of what we were talking about. And then I had them use their technology to build a food web. So they had to pick one. I had my directions here on the bottom, and that was that. And I used that as well for, let me move my screen down a little here. I used that as well for my anatomy choice board, which is right here. And same idea. I had my must-dos on the top, and then I had my may-dos on the bottom. Must-dos were all content related. May-dos were definitely more activity driven. So what I found is that I teach a lot of upperclassmen, and unlike elementary and middle school where, you know, they're really craving a lot of things to do to keep them occupied, they're still trying to build skills, and, you know, everything that they're doing is super important. You know, high school is a little bit different, especially when you're at the upper level. They just want to do what they need to do to pass, basically. They want that content. What do I need to complete? I need a checklist because I'm working, because I'm taking care of my siblings at home, because I've got, you know, honors classes and whatnot. They're overloaded and stressed. So I decided to streamline my board a little bit. And for biology, let me see, I'm sorry. My drop-down screen keeps going. There we go. So for biology, what I found was that I ended up just picking out the things that I wanted to grade, basically. And so I still have my notes, my video of me and all that. I have an activity that I wanted them to do that really hammered home the content. And then I had a video. So this is ranging over a lot of different learning styles. And then I still had some stuff that I think is important. You know, as a teacher, we craft amazing lessons and things. And when you really try to, you know, cut some things, it's hard because everything we do is important really for their learning. But you just have to kind of get over that and think, okay, what do I need to help them get through this? What do they really need to take away? And then everything else I just put down here in the optional stuff for just for fun. Our guidance counselor reached out too and said, we have a handful of students that suffer from pretty severe anxiety, and they are overwhelmed because they have 7 different classes and they don't know where to start or what to do. So I started making a weekly schedule. Much like our 3rd grade team, how they had it all on their board, I made a little bit of a different board, and this is just a suggestion of how they should complete it. So if they're really kind of paralyzed with anxiety over not knowing where to start, they can say, okay, Monday, I'm going to watch that video of her going over the notes. And on Tuesday, I'm going to do the note check, and so on. Okay. Anatomy is set up the exact same way now. That's how I'm doing that as well. Notes, video. There wasn't an activity for this one because it's the male reproductive system. But I did like a worksheet on Google Forms, basically. I've also found, just as a teaching tip, that I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can that syncs up with Google because it's easier for me to grade. If you go to the classwork tab, I have everything arranged so the kids can find it there too. And I can just simply click on it and see how many I've graded, how many are assigned, if I need to grade any more. So it's been pretty wonderful doing that. Here's the other one. So I just can go through and see who needs to do what that way. So just to finish up my little portion here, lessons I've learned. Again, we need to kind of let go a little bit, at least for the end of this year. And, you know, whatever you're feeling like you need to do, cut it in half. They're stressed out. There is not a lot of help at home for them. And just try to, you know, really focus on the less is more and the important things. Like I said, a task list has helped a lot of my kids. Make sure that you're, you know, putting your face in there somehow. Screencastify and Loom are so easy to use, and Edpuzzle has been my life changer. And that is it for me. We will finish up with the other Holly in our district, Holly Shapira.
Hello, everyone. I teach high school Spanish. I teach pretty much every level right now except for first year. And I'm going to go into my shared screen so that you can see on my slide what my first choice board looked like. And then also I have a link to my email, and then a couple things I'm going to show you with Edpuzzle that Holly just talked about, and also with Quizlet that I use a lot, that my students enjoy. All right, so this is the first choice board for the first 2 weeks of our time during this COVID pandemic. And during that time, we had the goal of just reviewing what we were currently going over, not really presenting any new material. So I realize this mostly is in Spanish, so I'll kind of explain a little bit of what I put together here. I have a culture video, Quizlet, in my house. These are just different things that they have to create a video and talk about in Spanish about what they have around their house dealing with the theme. A cultural comparison where they read about a cultural practice and compare it with maybe a cultural practice that we have or a similar practice. A reading, songs. We were learning songs at the time, so they were comparing two artists that sang the same song in Spanish. And so originally when I signed this, I thought that they would compare the lyrics and how they changed them and how they were singing them. And I had some musically inclined students that got really into the tempo and the style of music and how the notes were played differently, which was really kind of entertaining to read that because they took it to a level I wouldn't have expected. A grammar review game, a mix, which happened to be another Edpuzzle review video, and connections. In this reading, what they do is they read about a cultural historical practice or difference that occurred, and then they have different projects they can do out of that that's interdisciplinary, so they can choose to go a math route, a science route with that particular topic. What has changed from my choice board from this time to now, I'll show you what we're working on currently, is based on the feedback of my students. They enjoyed the cultural video, the Quizlet and so forth. But with a new concept, I now am applying a Zoom meeting every week, which counts as one of their activities. And I know that we've talked about recording what you're teaching for students to watch. What I found works for me is I have the Zoom meetings where I present the material to whoever can join us, and I record it, and then I post the link afterwards so that people that aren't able to join us during that Zoom time can see what I talked about and presented, and it's kind of hitting all of that at the same time. So that has worked really well for me. From feedback from my students, they wanted to see tarea as homework. They wanted to see their traditional homework, which is via Google form. That's what we were doing before. They wanted more of those types of activities. Práctica, which is a book activity. I just have it linked to a Google form with instructions. They still wanted the traditional book activities. And then a game that they come up with, and still a mix of, something that pertains to the topic that I find activity or video that I can incorporate. What I also did that helped my students is I give them a 2-week period to complete this choice board. A lot of them liked having the extra time with the load of other classes that they have to some complete it right away within the first few days. Others wait until the second week, depending on their course load. Also, you can see at the bottom, I have this differentiated for my honors and my regular classes. My regular classes completing 5 of the squares, and my honors completing 7 of the squares by the due date. And so they can decide, some do split this up and do a couple each week. Others, like I said, complete it all right away. Just a quick thing about Quizlet, since this is one of their favorites. Quizlet is you can use for free, or you can use the paid version. In the free version, you can see that you can browse different subject areas. So math, I know we're speaking with math teachers today. There are different decks already created, or different tests that they can do. That's a free part of the service. And when you go to create your own flashcards, you can copy. What has helped with me is I would search for my textbook name and then see what other teachers might have created. And then I copy that and adapt it to what maybe I want to add to it. So I found that kind of a time saver if you decide to use Quizlet. What I like about Quizlet is it gives them different ways to practice the same ideas. And so it can really tailor to what their way of learning is for them. And then the Quizlet Live that you see here at the bottom, that is something that is only available for teachers. So when you're together as a class, or we have found the individual, they have an individual form of playing now that during our Zoom meetings, I can start that and then they play each other during that time. So that's been a lot of fun. In the page service, you can have more access to what activities that they've done and completed. So here I can decide on which set I want to look at, what time period, and it shows me what has been completed. And you can hover over the information and it tells you what their score is. This is helpful because if they have a low score, you can maybe suggest, maybe try that again. And then I can also see, you can see the second person's done a lot more. I might encourage the first person to do a few extra. And then also in the formative assessment for the mastery, which is really helpful, is it allows you to see what is never missed, rarely missed, or missed a lot. And this helps with reviewing concepts together. During our Zoom meetings, I can see what areas they're struggling with. And then quickly for Edpuzzle, that a lot of us use, this is an online site that is completely free. You can go onto Edpuzzle and search for videos similar to Quizlet that are already made and copy and adjust that for you. Or you can import a video from any of these areas and make your own questions with it. So the idea with Edpuzzle is you can take a video and you can put your own questions into the video. It helps you to do that. And so also you can crop the length. Your questions that you add can be multiple choice, short answer, and you can also prevent skipping, which is helpful because then they can't skip to the end. They have to watch at least the first time through the video. What is also nice is it links to Google Classroom. So this isn't something where you have to create usernames and passwords for students. You can import your Google Classroom list. And so then you can assign it directly to your Google Classroom or share a link of that activity. And also it has a Gradebook feature. So you can go in and see what students have completed what assignments. You can also monitor their progress. It has a color codes red, yellow, green. Obviously the red students either not completing or a very low score, or the yellow for students that might be struggling a little bit. And also it has an export feature or a spreadsheet so that you can easily import those grades into whatever grading system you're using. And that is it for me.
And we have one more slide that I'll just share quickly. Brenna Farrell is not with us, but she has also provided her choice boards for high school family and consumer science, if you'd like to check that out. Otherwise, we thank you all so much for listening in, and we really, really appreciate the opportunity to share during this challenging time.
Well, I have to say I am almost speechless. I am so impressed, and I have watched the chat, and there are many along with me that are impressed with what you have done in Genoa. And thank you so much for sharing with us and sharing all your templates, all your skills, the links to your PowerPoint where we can go over it again. Like I said, we will be sharing this whole video somewhere. We don't have that position yet, but it will either be on ODE's YouTube channel or on OCTM's homepage, the Ohio Council for Teachers of Mathematics. And so if you please fill out, and I'll put it in for another time, if you just fill out the exit survey, you'll put your email in there, and as soon as we know where it is, I will email everybody on this list. I know some of you have maybe called in, and I have my personal or my work email, not my personal. Just write me an email, give me suggestions for your needs for the future there, and also your email address, and we'll get you a certificate for this. Thank you so much, Genoa team. I mean, oh my gosh. Kudos.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you to our Genoa friends for agreeing to partner with North Point and ODE again to share your skills, share your journey, and share your resources. Appreciate you all so very, very much. Everybody have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you.